My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Game of Thrones Season 3, and this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch this review, because I will be going in depth. Wow. It never fails to take my breath away. Unfortunately, I had the Red Wedding spoiled for me. Not because someone told me exactly what would happen, but they kept telling me, oh, there's the Red Wedding at the end of Season 3 and you're not ready for it. Okay, I'm not ready for it. I assume people are going to die. Red equals blood, bloody wedding. Okay, and it didn't happen at Sansa's and Tyrion's wedding, so obviously the only other option was for the next one, and I kept waiting for everything to go wrong. And it's still a fantastic moment, but I just wish I went into it knowing nothing. And then when it happens, I'm just like, oh my goodness, it shocks me even further. I didn't have that, but it is still such an incredible episode. It truly is. And it's just so frustrating up until that point because Robb is just making every wrong decision. He clearly took after his father, where he's good-hearted, but he's so painfully naive. And he's trusting when he shouldn't be, and it all builds to the Red Wedding so perfectly. And just when the music starts playing and Caitlyn's just looking around, and you've got that sinking feeling in your chest that something's about to go wrong, and then Bolton reveals that he's got armor on, and Caitlyn just screams, Robb. Just from that moment forward, it's just, you can't believe what you're watching. We have spent so much time with these characters. They are the good guys, the people we've been rooting for. And they're killed off just like that. It's a lot to take in. And the fact that all of Robb's mistakes, they caught up to him and they cost his life, his wife's life, his kid's life, his mom's life, and all of his men's life. And it doesn't hold back on the blood. When that guy stops stabbing Talisa's stomach, it's so brutal and horrific. And it just has so much emotional weight behind it. And after Talisa dies and Robb holds her in her arms, you can just see that he has nothing left. He's ready to die. And then he gets killed, and then Caitlyn has nothing left, and she just does that one last scream. You're just watching people watch everyone they care about die in front of them, and losing their will to live at the same time, and then getting killed off. It's just a lot to take in. It's so perfectly handled. It's one of the greatest episodes of television ever. I wish I saw it on the day it aired and I got that shocking feeling like everyone else did. And I didn't get that, but it's still just phenomenal. And it's also made worse by the fact that Arya, after everything she's been through, she was going to reunite with her family. We were going to get the happy ending, and it was taken from her when it was so close. And that adds some additional emotional weight. So I just loved everything we got in that. Then we've got everything at King's Landing, and I love the addition of Tywin and the Tyrells here, and just, it really switches things up in a way that compels you even further. Tywin is just no nonsense, and he's just the smartest guy there. There's that one thing where Cersei's just like, I don't like Marjorie. She's manipulating Joffrey. And he's just like, good. The boy could be manipulated. And I love that. And the fact that the Tyrells are so straightforward. And I love how they actually go up to Sansa and they ask her about Joffrey. And you're not sure if you can trust them, so it keeps you on edge. And it's nice to hear Sansa open up. But you're still worried for her. But I like how things do go good for her. In fact, she's no longer getting married to Joffrey. Her and Marjorie become pretty good friends. Things seems to be looking up for her. So much so that she has an opportunity to leave. And she doesn't go with it. She got caught up in her emotions and she just forgot how cruel and unforgiving this world is and how she now has to get married to Tyrion. And you see the weight behind that for both of them. Like, Tyrion does love Shay, and you see how this affects their relationship, and how Tyrion is trying to be as nice as he can to be to Sansa and look out for her, but she still doesn't like him, and it's just very awkward, and they're just both putting on the best face they can. And then we also see Tyrion and Cersei get along for a little bit here, which was very nice to see, a nice switch up in their dynamic. And then we get Joffrey, who's just such a piece of shit. 2 more episodes, but he's so cruel. How he removes the stool so Tyrion's forced to look like a fool. How he's still torturing Sansa, and how he can't just let that go. It's truly infuriating. So I love everything at King's Landing. And then we've got everything with Jaime and Brienne, and I love all of it. I just feel really awful for Jaime here, and when he loses his hand, it just comes out of nowhere, and it's shocking. They just treat him like garbage. They make him drink horse piss, and you really do feel bad for him. But then we hear the real story about what happened with the Kingslayer, and it adds some new layers to the character that wasn't there before, and he actually starts to change for the better. You know, there's a moment where he could just leave Brienne to die, but he goes back and rescues her. And it's a very noble act. So we've seen that he has the potential to be good. He's redeeming himself. And now he's back home. So I think it does all of that incredibly well. And I do like the dynamic between the two of them. Then you've got everything with Greyjoy, which is just some of the most horrific stuff I've seen. Like, this is just absolutely relentless. Ramsay is worse than Joffrey. This guy is just the worst there is. Like, you know, in some ways you wanted to see Theon get punished for what he did, but not like this. It's just excruciating to watch. You know, the way that Ramsay will give him hope and then take it away. The way that he'll get all these naked ladies to have sex with him and then cut off his... The way that he tortures him slowly. The way that he changes his name, and if he doesn't answer to that name, then he beats him. It's just a lot. And you feel really awful for him. Then we've got everything with Daenerys and amazing stuff. Like, I just want to say the whole idea of the Unsullied is truly horrific. Kind of reminds you of what's going on with Greyjoy in some ways, but I love the way the first section of her story just plays out with the guys constantly insulting her in his own language, and she decides to give him a dragon, and you're just like, why would you do that? But then it turns out she can't speak the language, she gets the guy killed, she takes control of the army, and then she frees them all, and now she has this massive army and dragons, just really excellent stuff. And you can see that she's savage and fearless when needed, but she does have a good heart. And the way the rest of this story plays out with some, I forget their names, and you just see that she's really starting to gain some real love and admiration from many different people. And that last scene where everyone's calling her mother, just really powerful stuff. And then we've got everything with the Night Watch, which I also really love here. You know, I love Jon's relationship with Ygritte. I think it's surprisingly pretty sweet in just how different they are, and how they challenge each other, and how Jon does give in and doesn't follow his vows, and he has sex with her. And there's that one scene where they're climbing the wall, and it's really tense, and he saves her, and they get to the top, and they just embrace each other. It's a very heartfelt ending to that. And then we get the way that story progresses with Jon and Ygritte basically becoming enemies again, and it has real emotional weight behind it. So I loved all that. And then I already kind of touched on Arya's plot, but I loved all of it. I love how she gets involved with these other people and how they have the Hound as a prisoner, and I love how she still hates him for what he did to the butcher's boy, and how that is given some more emotional weight here, and how she almost kills him in that one scene. And like I said, she almost got to reunite with her family, but that was taken away from her. And I really do love the relationship between her and the Hound, the banter between them. They're very different, but I like that. And I like that one scene where she kills that one guy and the Hound kills the other three. A great scene. And then we got everything with Stannis, and I'm going to be honest, this is the one plot that I didn't really care for this season. Not a big fan of it. So, overall, this is some of the best stuff story-wise so far. You know, I love how you see people that you thought you wanted to see suffer, but now you're like, maybe I don't. You got that with Jaime, you've got that with Greyjoy, so it reveals some hidden humanity they have. And also how we see that Robb married for love and got paid for it with his life. Sansa married for power, and now she's going to live an unhappy life. It just shows how cruel of a world it is, and how, after everything that happened, Arya couldn't reunite with her family, and Jaime gets to reunite with Cersei. It's an unfair world, so love all of that. And one line of dialogue I love is, he'd see the city burn if he could become king of the ashes. Just some really great writing. And let's begin talking about the cast. First with Michelle Fairley, who's absolutely phenomenal here. She's great throughout, but her last moments and her screams, they're haunting. Incredible work from her. Gwendolyn Christie, I think, is really great. Sophie Turner is really great. Maisie Williams, I think, is amazing. She's so good. Like, she really is. I've heard that she's not as good in the latter seasons, and that bums me out, but right now, I really love her character. Richard Madden just plays the naivety of Robb Stark so perfectly, and he's really great here. You got Una Chaplin as Talisa, who's great. Kate Harington's great as Jon Snow. John Bradley's great as Sam. Wars Leslie's great as Ygritte. I know it's like far too late, but she kind of reminds me of what's her name? Like Ahoy or something like that from Horizon Zero Dawn. Alfie Allen is great here. Laura Greyjoy, played by Gemma Whelan, is really great. Isaac Hempstead. Oh yeah, I didn't mention Bran. Everything with Bran is freaking boring. In fact, also the stuff with Sam isn't the most interesting. I'm not as hard on it for this season because it's not in it a ton, but still, Art Parkinson's fine. Nikolaj Coster-Waldau as Jaime Lannister is really fantastic here. Lena Headey's great. Natalie Dormer, she plays the manipulative side of this character and the good-natured side so perfectly. Jack Gleeson is once again fantastic, as you love to hate him. Rory McCain as a Hound is great. Peter Dinklage emotes so much emotion with just his eyes, and he's great here. I think one of my favorite new additions though to this season is Diana Rigg as Olenna. She's just excellent. She really is. You know, that one scene with her and Tywin is just so expertly written and acted. Then you've got Cyborg Keeley as Shay. She's great. Jerome Flynn's great as Braun. Aidan Gillen's great as Littlefinger. This is a long list. Carnes Hill as Rhays. He's great. David Bradley doesn't get the credit he deserves. Like, we don't see him very much in this show, but he just sells you on the despicable nature of this character so perfectly. So perfectly. Then you got Charles Dance as Tywin, who's really fantastic. Ian Glenn as Jorah Mormont's great. Emilia Clarke as Daenerys Targaryen, who's great. Then you've also got Nathalie Emmanuel. And last year, I reviewed a movie called The Invitation, and I thought she was terrible in it, but I will say she's good in this show. And it's a very well-directed show. It looks great, it sounds great, and the music by Ramin Djawadi is so good. It's a really amazing score. Truly is. My only negative is the way episode 3 ends with Jaime getting his hand cut off and then the cut to credits. It doesn't fit the show or the episode at all, so I didn't like that. But look, this is yet another amazing season of television. There's some plots I didn't care for, like Bran and Sam's and Stannis's, but everything else is so incredible. It is some of the most hard-hitting, emotional, devastating television you'll ever see. The characters are so expertly written. There's so much emotion to everything going on. The story is driven by characters, and just the way everything comes together, it's just so satisfying to see a well-written and well-made show like this. It truly is. I hope it stays this good up until the end, but we'll see. And the Red Wedding is just, it's an all-timer. When people talk about the greatest episodes of television ever, they're going to be talking about this and Ozymandias from Breaking Bad. And they should talk about Arcane episode 3 as well, but they're not going to, but that should be in the conversation. So, yeah, amazing season. I'm going to go ahead and give Game of Thrones Season 3 a 9 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Game of Thrones Season 3? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon. And Gavin, out.